Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. I'm your guys' host, SchuZ Schumaker. I hope you guys are having a phenomenal Thursday so far. But to kick off today's show is a man that's been on the show a little bit ago. It's been about 6, 7, 8 months now, but he's getting ready for another upcoming fight. He's now at 126 weight class. He's 20-2 in his career, 16 KOs, ranked number 4 in the WBA as a featherweight contender. That's none other than Elijah Pierce. Elijah, appreciate you for taking time to come back on again, man.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you once again for reaching out.
Absolutely, man. So since the last time we talked, you had an upcoming fight at that point in time. It was going to be against Jose San Martin. You did your job out there. You took care of business. So now it's been a little bit hectic. Obviously, you haven't been in the ring since that standpoint. You moved up weight classes. Lots of has happened. But if you could sum up, let's say the past 10 months or so, how would you sum it up in terms of boxing?
There's been a lot of ups and downs, to be honest.
Right.
A lot of personal stuff, but also just in the career field. Like I said, I've been out the ring about, well, I'm going to say 11, like you said, about 11 months, and
Right.
I was actually supposed to fight in a way, and I was extremely happy about it. I was, excited that was the breakout fight I've been wanting. So
Mm.
unfortunately it didn't come to pass. I couldn't make the weight.
Okay.
So, I had to do some plotting and get with the team, and we had to figure some things out. And so we just made the best decision to move up. And it's still a possibility that fight could happen later on in the future.
Right.
But for the time being, I just had to put my health and my children's security first before anything. So other than that, though, man, and like I said, I've still been training. Uh, this camp has been going great. Like I said, I was in Japan, training in Japan, helping Ryosuke and Nishida get ready
Mm.
for Junto Nakatani. Then as soon as I got back, I spent about a week with my kids, and then I have helped Floyd Schofield Jr. get ready for his fight versus Tevin Farmer.
Mm-hmm.
So then, as soon as I got back from there, I started my camp. So
Right.
I'm in shape. I'm ready, and like I said, I'm just looking forward to proving that the wolf is here. I ain't went nowhere. Although I ain't been as active in the ring, like I said, ain't nothing changed. I'm still gonna put belt to ass. I'm still gonna do everything as normal. I'm still gonna get the job done. I'm still gonna become champion when it's all
Mm.
said and done. I'm still hunting and going after the top guys. I've made statement after statement, and you can expect no less. July 25th next week.
All right, there's a few things I have to break down. Let's go in order from what you talked about there. First and foremost, you talked about the Inoue component there. Now, to bring clarity to that situation, when you look back at that, was that going to be the one that Ramon Cardenas ended up fighting in? Was like the May 5th or 6th, whatever
Yes,
day that was? Okay. And so at that
yes.
point in time, the offer comes to you. You obviously know that, okay, you have to move a weight. When did it all click to you? Just what made you make that decision at that point in time?
I mean, well, I guess I can't just be so specific. I mean, all I know is that it was brought to me. It was said
Okay.
that it was very close to being made, and obviously, like I was very intent on it being made. But I ultimately had to factor my last weight cut against Jose San Martin, and
Mm.
that was my worst weight cut by far. And
Okay.
so I had to do some soul searching. I talked to my father, which was my head coach, Andy Pierce. Um, we talked. I talked to my mother, talked to my management team, and I I didn't want to fight in a way half cocked. I
Yeah.
wanted to be at my best when I fought him. Reason being is because I just know I've seen the game. I've seen how the commenters and fans and casuals, all that. I didn't want that asterisk on my career
Makes
by, let's say, things didn't go my way, or in their unfavorable, and I was to lose by a knockout or lose by something where that wasn't in my control, where it's my body failing me or something like that.
right.
Then it's, oh, see, I knew you couldn't have beat him, or I knew you weren't on his level or whatever, as opposed to me being at my best.
Gotcha.
And doing that for the money wasn't worth it to me. It wasn't,
Mm.
because I know that ultimately down the line I'll make the money. I'll achieve everything else that I set out to, as long as I continue to put in work, stay focused, and keep working hard. I mean, I'm right there.
Right.
I'm top five, and I just moved up to featherweight already.
Mhm.
So it just goes to show, man, like it's gonna happen. Like I said, people can doubt me. People can keep trying to say I haven't fought this person or fought that person. Everybody know at this point I'm calling out everybody. I didn't
Right.
call out Stephen Fulton multiple times.
Oh,
I
yeah.
called out Marajan Akhmadaliev. I called out Rabisi Ramirez. I called out damn near any top guy. I mean, all the champions. I've called them all out. I mean, and
Mhm.
it's up to them to face, face the music and step in the ring with me. Even me and my boy, Bruce Carrington, we've had a conversation. He's getting ready to fight for the WBC interim belt. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Me and him, we've had talks about fighting. Me and him, we just wanted to do it on a respectful playing field. Whereas he gets his title, I get my title, and then we come together, and then we both make money because he's
Okay.
an actual friend. That's honestly probably one of the only friends I have in boxing. I mean, I have close relationships with different gentlemen, but you know what I'm
Right.
saying. Like as far as a friend, like me and him, we have a lot of respect for each other,
Okay.
and being in the same weight class and whatnot. So he's the only person that I've been somewhat again. Okay, I don't want to fight him at this particular time,
Mhm.
but it's boxing, man. Whenever it's supposed to happen, it's gonna happen. I'm willing to fight the best, and I've always been willing to fight the best.
Now that you are out of 122, I want to ask you this question because, I feel like 122 is a very interesting weight class. Inoue's there. Obviously, he's a pound for pound top three guy. And it's almost as if once you reach a certain pinnacle there, guys are willing to sit out. They're not wanting to fight guys just because, you have a massive payday. And obviously, I can get it from the business side. But, MJ, this is a guy. I know he did that little tune up fight a couple months ago, but he's not doing real fights. That's a situation. Goodman, a lot of these guys, and I get the paycheck, but how frustrating is that when obviously you can see the business side of it, but still, so many guys once they reach that top 2, 3 status, they just want to go for Inoue and they don't want to fight the top guys. How frustrating is that?
Man, extremely. Like that was the whole um the pretty much the hold up. That's why I didn't end up getting the fight was
Mm,
because nobody wanted to fight me. No, none of the top five guys wanted no parts of me. None of them.
mhm.
And so I'm like, what am I supposed to do at this point? Because
Right.
then I'm already top three in the rankings at 1-2. I was number three in the WBA. I was number four in the WBO. I was number six in the IBF, and then in the I mean, what was it? Those yeah, six in no, it was
Well,
10 in the
at
IBF.
122, they still have you at number 9 IBF and number 5 WBO as of today when I put the notes together.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Hmm.
Look, even goes to show I'm
Yeah.
still I was still top ranked, and it was
Oh yeah.
like none of these guys they wanted no smoke with me. So I
Right.
was like, okay, man, I'm trying to hold on as long as I can. But I kept telling my promotion, I kept telling my management team, I'm like, look, I'm trying to hold on as long as I can, dude. But this weight is getting too much on me, and
Mm,
it just after the San Martin fight, I really had to do some thinking, hard thinking, and I was just like, man, it's not worth it. It's not because I can make the money with anyway, get the big payday, but at what cost?
yep.
And it was like I'm gonna forever have that stain on my legacy because people are gonna think that that was my best and it wasn't. And I've
Mhm.
even seen from example from Stephen Fulton. Supposedly he had weight problems during that fight and or whatever else. And I don't know if that was true or not, but all I know is that I seen what happened as far as his career and how people treated him. And
Yeah.
that was tough. That's tough to deal with. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So for me, I just had to make the smart call, man, and just put faith in my team and myself, and just be patient.
That's a great mindset you have right there because, like you said, at the end of the day, especially with boxing, this isn't basketball. It's not just going out there and playing one on one or something. There are ramifications from a branding standpoint, but also a health standpoint. And obviously, finding a guy like Inoue, not at 100%, is probably not the best idea overall. So when you talk about going out there and saying, you know what, I get I'm not going to get that payday that I probably want, but I know it's best for me long term. How did you have the confidence in yourself and say, you know what, I'm going to make the best decision from a health standpoint, career standpoint, as opposed to chasing the bag right now?
Well, really, first looking at my children. What I'm saying, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be a father who got them wearing a colostomy bag the rest of my life, or being hooked up to a machine and or whatever. Like
Right.
that's not in my life plan. So, ultimately, I had to look at them first, and
Mm,
then I had to just kind of, like I said, look at my career standpoint.
mm,
I'm still young, man. I'm only 28. I'm about to be 29 years old here in a
right.
couple months. You know what I'm saying? I still got time. I'm still in my prime. You know, the world has yet to see the best of Elijah Pierce.
Mm,
And everything will be shown and proven. At the end of the day. So all I need is the opportunity, and the right opportunity is gonna come my way. And there's not, like I said, it's not like I've been calling out the top guy, the other top guys. Besides, in a
gotcha.
way, I didn't.
Hmm.
There's more than one. You know what I'm saying? Big sheep to get. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been trying to get them all. They don't want to fight me, and I said
Hmm.
for good reason.
Yep. All right. So when you talk about the culture at 126, we just talked about how 122, there's a whole issue there. Obviously, this upcoming fight, you're not fighting a top guy right now. It's more getting yourself ready at 126. But when you talk about, you're top Bruce Carrington, do you feel like there's going to be a better chance that you get a good fight at 126 moving forward now as opposed to 122?
Definitely, because at
Okay.
122 there was a whole, like you said, there's a whole line. Everybody was
Yeah.
literally skipping and waiting and trying to maneuver to fight in a
Hmm.
way. At 26, there's four champions. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So there's no reason why I can't get an opportunity to face one of them. You
Yep.
know, and if that was the case, I mean, damn, I mean, at that point, well, how does that not prove that I'm a top competitor at that point?
Right. Right.
But you know what I mean? But um I've yeah, I think I've just about called out every single champion
Yeah.
at 26 already. I mean, but obviously the top two I want are Fulton and Nick Ball. Like I was
Mm,
actually my overtime promotions, my promotion
yeah.
and Viva promotion, they were actually in talks with Queensberry
Mm,
about making that me versus Nick Ball fight. But Nick Ball pulled out negotiations per my knowledge, and he decided to pull up Lewis Neary from 122 and fight him instead.
yeah. I want to ask about Nick Ball there because that would be a very interesting fight to see between you two. I love watching him fight. It's a very fun fight. I'm not going to throw shots at him in that sense, but
Yeah.
his choices of who he's fighting right now have been a little bit questionable. I'll be honest. He's pulled up a lot of guys now, time after time to go fight. Is that something that you look at? Like, what's your thoughts as a fight when you see that? When someone keeps bringing guys up in weight classes, their first times fighting at that weight class, what's your thoughts on the way he's moving in that regard?
I don't necessarily agree,
Hmm.
but like I said, it's a business, man. So I
Yeah.
do get it to a certain degree. Like I get it. Everybody want to make money. Everybody wants to be in the spotlight. Everybody wants to keep making their bag go forward and whatever else.
Right.
So it's not that I'm necessarily against making smart decisions, but at some point you got to fight, dude. Like you fight the best because that's what the fans want to see.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's also up to the fans to stop the bullshit. And they got to quit trying to write every fighter off when they take one loss against another world level competitor.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna continue to stress that over and over and over because that is the lost foundation of the game. That is one of the biggest things I think today that is harming boxing. Every
100%.
time somebody loses, they all of a sudden they trash, and they could have several accomplishments. It just don't even matter. It's just like their history just completely written off if they take a L.
Right.
And having went through that myself, like I said, having my two early losses written off. But yeah,
Hmm.
I earned my way back. Now I'm even exceeded where I was before. Now I'm top five in two weight classes. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? And I still get it all the time. Oh, you ain't this, you ain't fighting nobody, or you're not this. I'm like, I can't make this guy get in the ring with me. I've tried. I'm trying. You know.
All right, so you already talked about it. You've called out countless guys. We've already talked about a couple of them. If you're going to put together your top five list, whether that be the champions or that be top contenders right now, Bruce Carrington obviously will be fighting next week. I think, yeah, next week on Saturday. You got other top guys. Goodman's obviously theoretically in the mix now. Omar Trinidad, Luis Neary, Daniel Collins, so on and so forth. Who would you say are your top five guys that you want to fight? If you could make anything, no restrictions, who are those top five guys?
That Rudy Fulton, him first.
Okay.
I want to smoke that dude. I know I beat the shit out of that dude. Him, Nick Ball, um, uh, I think Angelo Leo would be a good fight as well because
Mhm.
I like Angelo Leo. He's a really good fighter. I think we'd be a great fight.
Yeah.
Um, real action packed. Let me see. I'm trying to remember. Some of the guys at 32. Uh, man, what is dude's name? Uh, uh, it escapes my mind.
Espinoza?
But no, I mean Espinosa. Yeah, he can. I definitely let him fight him too. But
Okay.
I mean, all like I said, all the champions at 126 for sure.
All right.
Yeah, all definitely all the champions at 126, and the Marco Quello dude or any other top contender. Like literally, there's not a name that I would turn down who's in the top 10 right now. Like
All
no,
right.
I would not turn down any name that can get me that much closer to a world title. I would accept immediately. Like
Okay.
there's no favoritism. There's no cherry picking. There's no well I try to beat him and because he's easier. Yeah, they end of the day, man, a fight is a fight.
Hmm.
Styles make fights. I'm very like I said, my whole reason I spell the wolf with the triple X's is because I'm unpredictable. I can
Hmm.
fight a different amount of different styles. You know what I'm saying? I'm adaptable. I know what I'm doing, man. I've been doing this too long. So ultimately
Right.
I ain't afraid of no challenge. Bring them all on.
All right. You look at after this upcoming fight, which we'll talk about after this question, but you look at everything else that could be on the table for yourself in terms of getting back in the ring. When is that? Is there already discussions on that regard? Is that something you're planning for? When can we see you back in the ring after your upcoming fight?
Oh, I already told my promotion, yeah, you better have my ass back in there ASAP.
All right.
ASAP. Cause I mean, I done already been out the ring for 11 months, and
Yep.
really it's been truthfully, I don't know why. I really don't. Like I said,
Mm.
I know the whole stuff with the anyway situation or whatever, but that wasn't that still wasn't an excuse for me to be out that long. Like I was kind of like, okay, so what's going on, and
Right.
it just there was a lot of dissension going on between my promotions and management and everything else. So I just had to play the waiting game. So
Mm.
I don't know what the hell was going on, but bottom line, we back now, we ready, and July 25th, the hunt continues.
So when you look at having to be outside of the ring that long, is there any blessing in disguise? I mean, from the outside looking in at it, I kind of look at, okay, mid-career, you could say in a sense, you get a year off almost to go out there, recover, go get some great opportunities. Like you said, go to Japan, be a part of Floyd Schofield's camp, so on and so forth. Were there any blessing in disguise of almost letting yourself recover in a sense for the past year now?
Yeah, like I said, all of them was. I mean,
Mm,
it really more than anything, it gave me a confidence boost.
mm,
I seriously going to Japan was life changing for me just because of the mental acumen that it kind of gave me and showed me, like just being out there, the love and the
mm,
admiration I was getting and stuff like that, like just seeing the cultural differences,
yeah.
all that, man, it was amazing, and it was motivating. And then to come right back to the States and then get in Schofield's camp and experience what I experienced in that camp, and that's like family. Like I didn't been like big bro to Floyd Schofield since he was like 8 years old,
Mm,
when he was
really?
in when we trained in the same gym back in Atlanta.
Okay.
So, what I mean, like it was just a pleasure, and ultimately I was thankful for the opportunity, and it was just a blessing, man. I'm grateful as hell for every opportunity that I've gotten thus far.
I want to ask about Japan because you talk about the earlier component when about, when you take a loss in America, at least specifically, people are going to start writing you off. And I feel like overall, the boxing culture in America is extremely toxic. In my opinion, it's really, really bad out here where you got a lot of people, like you said, that will write guys off for one loss. You have another situation where, guys are going to be going back and forth. A lot of guys will love one guy and think they're basically God, essentially. And there's a lot of weird stuff in terms of the boxing culture out here. Japan, I feel like, is much different, though. I feel like they have a neutral respect for anybody that steps in that ring, puts on a show. Would you say that their culture for boxing is a much better position and place than America is today?
Honestly, I'd be inclined to agree. I
Hmm.
definitely would, because I mean, dude, like they showed the level of respect and admiration that they showed me. As soon as they found out I was a world ranked, boxer,
Yeah.
it was like night and day how people would treat me. I mean, from going out and hanging out in clubs and everything else, it was just amazing. I mean, to the point where I don't know if you've seen it. I had a viral video have got over a couple million views of me punching a security guard in
Yeah.
the stomach, and he asked me to do it, and and after I did it, he was honored. Like, thank you so much. Like, he was excited, and it was like, whoa, like literally dropped this dude with a body shot. After the club. I mean, I didn't. Hey, and it was just cool, man. The just how they would treat me. Like I said, from men, women, kids, everything. It was just dope, man. So I was like,
Mhm.
wow, that was very inspiring to me.
Would that be a situation to possibly go out there and fight? Is that something you would ever be inclined to do? Obviously, I know in a way if that's an opportunity you'll take at 126, but overall, even if it's not in a way, would you be inclined to want to go out there and fight someday in Japan?
For sure, definitely, most definitely. And I
Okay.
actually, the Nishida camp,
Mhm.
they definitely said that there's a possibility of that happening.
Okay.
So I was just like, okay, cool. Let me know. I'd absolutely be honored to. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Japan was actually my most wanted to visit country. Like, I've
Really?
always
Okay.
wanted to go there. So that was like a lifelong dream for me to even accomplish. And to accomplish that and make money, like go out
Mhm.
there and get paid to go and to get paid to experience the culture and everything else, that was just more of a blessing. So yeah, I'm all for it.
I love it. All right, well, let's wrap up this interview, man, talking about your upcoming fight. Michael DeMarianis, he's 36-4-2 in his career. When you talk about this fight, like I said, on paper, as a media guy looking at it, obviously my prediction is pretty easy that you're going to win that fight, but it's a tune-up fight in terms of, I think, getting you ready for 126. Is that overall, like, how are you looking at this fight? How are you preparing for it? And what's your thoughts on how this fight's going to go down?
Well, I've necessarily like I learned my lesson.
Right.
I don't necessarily look at guys in the manner of which I used to.
Mhm.
With Arthur Villanueva, I kind of had that same type of mindset where I was like, oh, just a little tune up and just another step in the road or whatever, whatever.
Right.
And I didn't really do my homework on his accomplishments. End of the day, I might have been skillfully better and felt the way I felt or whatever, but he was still a world title challenger 3 times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's somebody who's tough, somebody who's coming to fight. They're not coming to lay down. So
Mhm.
ultimately, you know what I'm saying? Like, moving forward, whoever I step in that ring with, I'm gonna give them the respect, that they're due, because ultimately they're stepping in the ring to face me. And they not being scared. And I know there are a lot of gentlemen who are scared to face me. So, you
Mhm.
know, I'm not overlooking anybody, but definitely I'm excited to showcase my full ability. That's probably the biggest excitement about this fight, because like I said, I would say the Villanueva fight, the San Martin fight, the weight cuts were heavily affecting me. And
Mm.
I was a little nervous to really unveil and do some of the things I've been working on in the gym, just because I was unsure how my body would hold up. And
Okay.
so now that I moved up to another weight class, my weight's already looking good right now. I'm very confident. I'm, like I said, even before, my confidence is already high, but now, like, just the training, me and my father, we've been game planning, we've been getting things together. Um, I mean, everything is great, man, and I'm excited to showcase once again.
All right.
Speaking
So,
of which, my father, he's right here too.
all right. What's up? Now, my final question for you, Elijah, is you talk about this fight. You're about a couple weeks out, about 1 week out, I guess. Yeah, 1 week from tomorrow out from the fight. What's a prediction of how that fight goes down?
Oh, I'm thinking it'll probably be I'm thinking definitely it'll probably be a early night.
All
I
right.
mean, I'm not really big on the predictions like I used to be anymore. Like, I used to kind of, oh yeah, I'm gonna knock him out in this round, that round. But now I've matured. So
Mhm.
ultimately, it's gonna be a good fight. I just want to showcase my full ability. I want to definitely show a lot of the things I've been working on in the gym, and just let people know that there's more to me than just being a power puncher. I know I've been knocking most of the guys out or whatever, but I really have a lot of my tool bag that I can pull from.
Absolutely. Well, I have to ask you a follow-up question real quickly then. What's your prediction? How's this fight going to go down?
Well, I feel pretty much the same way.
Okay.
We've trained really hard. We've been really effective in some of the things that I've taught him, and he's learned. He'll execute in the ring, and I think it's going to be a quick night.
All right. Do you see a noticeable difference in Elijah between him being at 122 and 126 now with the new weight cut?
Haven't really. Uh, he hasn't really gotten down to the weight to where I can see if it's going
Right.
to affect him, but it's going to stay the same. He's breaking his weight down. Mother, give me another maybe half a week, and I'll kind of know if it's going to be a difference.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I appreciate both of you guys for coming on today. And Elijah, best luck in about 8 days from today, man. Can't wait to see what God's got in store for you.
Absolutely, bro. It's a pleasure. And
Yeah,
once again, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's always a pleasure. And you already know, anytime you want me on, man, just feel free to reach out. Like I said, man, Team Wolf, we finna make it happen, man. We doing our thing. We locked in, loaded for July 25th, and it's gonna be a banger, man. The hunt continues.
Absolutely. Well, best luck, you guys. You know you're always welcome on, Elijah. God bless you guys.
God
Likewise,
bless.
man. Likewise.
I appreciate you guys all for tuning into the interview. I'll have that clipped up, edited out, and then posted on my YouTube channel right when the show's concluded in about 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour or so. But with that being said, I'm going to go on a short break and we'll get into some boxing topics. If you guys have any topics you guys want me to address on today's show, put it in the chat. I'll make sure to answer those once I get back from the break. I'll see you guys very shortly. God bless you guys. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SchuZ Show. I'm your guys' host, Zach SchuZ Schumaker, and I hope you guys are having a blessed Thursday so far. Now, at this time of the show, it's time to get into some boxing topics, all right? Turki Alalshikh was interviewed yesterday on a long sit-down interview, and he had countless different things to talk about in that interview. And so primarily this boxing segment is going to be breaking down what he said in terms of future fight plans. So there's a lot of things involving that. It's from the boxing podcast. So if anyone wants to go check that out, make sure to go check that out. This is where all this information is coming from. But let's just go down this list. First and foremost, I have to discuss this. And actually, before I go any further, though, any comments or questions or anything you guys want me to discuss, make sure to put it in the chat. I'll make sure they come up. Those comments will come up and appear on the show, and we'll address and talk about those topics as I go throughout this duration of the show. So let's hop right into it, though. Sources have informed the ring that both Riyaz Season and Sayla are no longer involved in the rematch between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. The ring has no involvement in the Eubank-Benn rematch. Conor Benn tells Ring Magazine, "This rematch falling apart had nothing to do with me. I was ready to go on the scheduled September 20th date. I'm not sure what happened to Chris Eubank." Now, other information in regards to this. Chris Eubank outpointed Benn in April in a fantastic fight, but Benn likely will now be returned to 147 or 154 if the rematch cannot be salvaged. Turki Alalshikh went on about this discussion and said this: "We finalized the date, September 20th. We know that in our schedule, the fight must happen on that date. If someone doesn't comment on this, this is not our job. We're not a charity. If someone doesn't understand that chance that we give them, this is their mistake, not our mistake." Also, a key point here is that Turki Alalshikh mentioned both Hamza Shiraz and Christian Bailey for Canelo, but not Chris Eubank Jr. All right. It is quite clear that when we hear this information news, that the man at fault for the situation is not Conor Benn. It seems that from all accounts that Conor Benn is willing to and actually wants and is pursuing the rematch with Chris Eubank Jr., but Chris Eubank Jr. does not want to. And I'm going to give my thoughts on this. You know, there's two sides to whether we want the rematch or not. Here's where I fall on this. From a fan that loves boxing, that thinks that Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn was the fight of the year, maybe one of the best fights of this decade, that's a fight I want to see again. Those two guys put on an absolute show. From a boxing mindset, in terms of looking at the best thing for both guys' careers, this fight should not happen. The rematch does not need to occur again. The first fight is a boxing classic. It is the fight of the year, one of the best fights that we have seen, maybe even in this decade or century when it's all said and done. That fight was phenomenal. But Chris Eubank Jr. had such a brutal weight cut that he was unable to even make the weight. We all saw the videos. We know how bad he looked during that weight cut. It was a brutal, brutal weight cut. He has no business being at 160 anymore. And the weight cutting process is regarded by many doctors as even the most dangerous component of boxing and combat sports. So for Chris Eubank Jr., that is not a situation or place he should put himself in any longer if there are big fights available for him to fight at 168. When you talk about for Conor Benn, likely the exact same result would happen in the rematch. So if you're Conor Benn, you would add another 0 or another loss to your loss column, and that's fine if it's a great fight. But for Conor Benn, you have massive fights you can make at both 147 and 154 if those two options are on the table for yourself. There are countless guys you can make big fights with where you could get not equivalent to that fight paycheck, but a very good payday, and also work on your actual accolades, your actual accomplishments. And while doing so, you have a legitimate chance at winning that fight. So if I'm looking at this from a boxing career accolade standpoint, those two guys need to go their separate ways. That first fight, hats off to both guys. Historic. But at this point in time, there should be no more rematches. Let's not let that happen. Chris Eubank Jr. go fight at 168. Make your mark there. Go make a big fight at 168. If you're Conor Benn, go to 147 if you can, or 154, and go make your mark there. That's what I'd see. It makes the most sense for both guys. Hats off for the original fight. We do not need to see it again. If it happens, I won't be disappointed, though. But from the health standpoint, accolade, and career, let that fight be done with. They proved their point. It is historic. Leave it untouched at one singular fight. Turki Alalshikh has said that he plans to match David Benavidez with Dimitri Bivol, Artur Beterbiev, and potentially Jai Opetaia in the future. Listen, folks, it's only a matter of time until David Benavidez fights at light heavyweight. As for Artur Beterbiev, I feel like he's more than able to go fight at light heavyweight, right? Or sorry, cruiserweight. My apologies. Let me go back and rephrase this. For David Benavidez, Bivol, and Beterbiev. Those three guys all have a legitimate chance at fighting at Cruiserweight. Now, Beterbiev, I feel like he's more acclimated and ready to go fight at Cruiserweight. Bivol, he's going to be A-okay. He's more skilled than we could ever imagine. But those other two most certainly are ready to go fight at Cruiserweight. And then you have Jaya Pataya, who I will say this time and time again. Yes, Zurdo's the fight to make at Cruiserweight. But that does not mean that that's going to be a good fight. I think Jaya Pataya is going to beat the brakes out of Zurdo. I think it's going to be an easy win for Jaya Pataya, and we'll move on from there. These three guys, on the other hand, have a chance at making that fight actually very entertaining. And when you talk about those three guys fighting Jaya Pataya, that Cruiserweight would be insane. Because you would still have a guy like Zurdo likely in the mix, and you have all those other guys in the mix as well. Cruiserweight would be a popping division in what is currently a very dead division. Turki Alalshikh has also said 3 to 4 options for Canelo in 2026. After that, he hopes to make a Canelo Benavidez fight possibly in 2027. Now that's what I'm talking about right there. When we look at this situation right now, Canelo Alvarez signed a 4-fight deal. Cinco de Mayo this year, just had that fight with William Skull. In Mexican Independence Weekend, he's going to fight Terence by Crawford. Those same 2 dates will then be applied next year against two other opponents. And he already talked about Hamza Shiraz, Christian and Billy. And hypothetically, I'd say Chris Eubank Jr. should be in the mix there. What's interesting, though, is that Turki Alalshikh has now hinted that, hey, it's not over yet. What I want to do is make Canelo fight stay with us for the remainder of his career. And if we're going to be honest, Turki Alalshikh has more than enough money to make that happen. And if he's able to secure that deal, he says David Benavidez fight could be on the table. For all boxing fans, we know that's the fight we want to see. We would love to see that fight. And if he can make that happen, I think all boxing fans would then praise him once again for that one. Here's an interesting one. He says, Turki wants to make Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. All right. Jake Paul and Nikisha came out and already said that, Jake Paul makes his own moves, so on and so forth. But that fight's interesting. Now, part of me wants to say that Turki Alalshikh wants to make that fight happen because he knows exactly what every boxing fan knows is going to happen in that fight. That Jake Paul will be put to sleep quite easily. However, let me just give props real quickly. I know what's going to happen in that ring. If Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul step foot in that ring together, Jake Paul is going to be put to bed. Jake Paul's not ready to fight at prime heavyweight or a guy just outside of his prime. No. However, I must give props for this. If Jake Paul is actually willing to sign the paperwork and step foot in the ring against Anthony Joshua, I would have to give him credit for that. It takes guts to be able to go step in a ring, period. Especially when you talk about a man that just was a YouTuber his entire life. Him becoming a boxer that's somewhat successful is very impressive. And he deserves credit for that. But if you have the guts to go step foot in the ring and face off against a man like Anthony Joshua, who just flatlined Francis Ngannou a year ago, that takes bravery and guts. And in my opinion, I know how that fight's going to go. Jake Paul will be put to sleep. But if Jake Paul does actually go in that ring and fight Anthony Joshua, hopefully make it out. But if he does, he deserves credit for that. That would be a bold move that there's very few people that would do just that move by going from what is he's truly a cruiserweight up to heavyweight and fighting a guy like Anthony Joshua. It would do massive numbers. But massive credit to Jake Paul if he actually takes that fight. Here's another interesting one. Turki Alalshikh has said that he will not give Gervonta Tank Davis 4 Ferraris to fight Shakur Stevenson, but he will give 2 gloves and money that will be more than enough to buy way more than 4 Ferraris. That's what I've always said. Tank Davis is an interesting guy. I genuinely do like watching fight. He's a very good fighter. I've said that time and time again. Sometimes he doesn't think through what he says, though. When he made the whole Ferrari joke, I don't know if people were telling him, but the paycheck that Turki's handing out to guys is going to more than cover Ferraris. You can go buy yourself 1, 2, 3, or 4 Ferraris if he wants. If Tank Davis was willing to open up his eyes and see what Turki Alalshikh's willing to pay these guys, he would quickly realize that there's legitimate money there. I get he's loyal, and I respect that. But Turki's already worked with Bob Arum. He's already worked with all the likes of every single top promoter in all of boxing, whether that be a Bob Arum, whether that be an Eddie Hearn, whether that be a Frank Warren, whether that be PBC, whatever it is, Al Heyman, whoever it is. He works with them. And so if you're Tank Davis, that probably is the route you want to go unless you don't want to fight the top guys. Turki Alalshikh says that Carlos Adames ignored his own people for days when he sent him an offer to fight Janibek on the Benavidez and Devin Haney card. All right. I have said this time and time again. At 160, there's one fight we all want to see. Janibek, Carlos Adames, make it happen. It's the two best guys at 160. No ifs, ands, or buts. Massive fight. And from social media, all it appears that Janibek wants that fight. I've been trying to get Carlos Adames on the show, and hopefully he does come on eventually. We've been DMing with each other. But there seems to be a little bit of a ducking episode going on from Carlos Adames right now. When you have Janibek making those claims very, very boldly, and then you have Turki Alalshikh saying, listen, Adames not only ignored myself being Turkey, he ignored his entire team from that offer. It makes you question a little bit. What's going on there? Why can't this fight happen? Now, I will say this. I completely understand why Carlos Adames is leery to go fight on a Turki Alalshikh card. He was robbed in that Hamza Shiraz fight. There's no way that he had a draw in that fight. That was a win against Hamza Shiraz. So I get it. Him being very skeptical is not a problem with me. I understand that. But if you have the opportunity to go out there and fight Janibek and you're going to turn that down, that's very questionable on my behalf when I see that. Turki Alalshikh has said that Shakur Stevenson told him he wants to come back at the end of the year or beginning of next year against Gervonta Davis or Conor Benn. If Turki Alalshikh can make that Tank Davis fight happen, oh my goodness, that's going to be huge for boxing. We need that fight. I have said this time and time again. Shakur Stevenson will win that fight. Tank Davis' only shot at beating Shakur Stevenson is off a miracle KO. Only shot. But that fight has to happen. If Shakur Stevenson and Tank Davis retire from their careers, move on from boxing, and on their resumes, they don't have their names on their list of who they fought in their careers, it's going to be an embarrassment. It is going to be extremely unfortunate. We just witnessed a very similar thing when Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua didn't fight each other at heavyweight. Now, maybe it happens when they're older, who knows? But we don't get to see the prime version of that fight. The one that everybody wanted to go out there and see. If you are Gervonta Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson, this fight has to get made. I know Shakur wants it. Tank Davis, on the other hand, does not. But if Turkey can make this fight happen, it needs to happen. This is the most necessary fight in American boxing to make right now. It must happen. No ifs, ands, or buts. So hopefully Turki Alalshikh can get that fight made. Now, the other side of that, Conor Benn. Very interesting there. That would include Shakur Stevenson moving up to not only 140, which is one weight class, but all the way up to 147, which is two, and fighting Conor Benn. It would do massive numbers. And I do think Shakur Stevenson would win that fight. I made it clear when I talked about him the other day. Shakur Stevenson, I believe, beats anybody at 135, everybody at 140, and probably even 147. The only guy would be that if hypothetically Boots was still there, that would be questionable in my opinion. But Conor Benn, Shakur would win, but that would be a massive fight and would do great numbers there as well. Let's head over to a couple more things that Turki Alalshikh talked about on this fight card. One of which is that the Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford undercard in September will stretch over 2 or 3 days and include more than 20 fights. All right. That's interesting to me. We know that when Canelo Alvarez Bud Crawford fight, it's going to be the fight of the year in terms of the biggest fight. It's going to be the biggest fight of this decade and maybe even this century. It is massive. Here's the thing. I've said this time and time again. What Turkey's plan for this is what I love. He wants to let so many up-and-coming prospects in boxing grow and build their names. And you know who I think is giving him this idea? None other than Dana White. Dana White, when he talks about your pay-per-view cards, they are typically much more fights than boxing cards typically have. You're typically looking about 12-ish or more fights in a card. Boxing is a lot less than that, typically. When you look at this opportunity, you have a massive brand with Netflix. You have this massive event where eyes will be glued to it. The more fights you have on that undercard, the more eyes will be glued to those fighters. And that's huge for boxing. There's nothing boxing is more than right now than more up-and-coming stars who keep rising in boxing. The more up-and-coming young prospects that we see rise is going to do wonders for the sport of boxing. And if he's rumoring that there could be 20 fights on that card, that's going to be massive at boxing. And I hope it does happen. Now, the fact that it's going to be 2 to 3 days long is going to be interesting. I can't imagine they're going to do them all at Allegiant Stadium. So will you have that somewhere on the Strip? Will you have that somewhere in one of the MGM or something along those lines? I don't have that answer yet, but that was a very interesting quote that Turki Alalshikh talked about there. Turki Alalshikh is eyeing Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury for 2026. Another one of those fights that, listen, this is one of the biggest fights to make in boxing. You could argue that it is the biggest. It would sell out Wembley. a massive domestic fight. People have been asking for that fight for a very long time. If he can make that fight happen, that's the fight to make. I don't want to see Tyson Fury go out there and fight Usyk right away again. I don't want to see anything else right now. Let Anthony Joshua and Fury fight each other. That makes perfect sense. If the winner wants to continue on with their career afterwards and go fight for a world championship, let them. But that's the fight to make right now, and hopefully Turki can get that deal done as well. So that concludes the Turki Alalshikh components. Now let's hop into some other boxing news. Lamont Roach Jr. has stated that Gervonta Tank Davis still has not signed the contract for a rematch. When I made the comment the other day that Lamont Roach needs to stop trying to play these games with Tank Davis and go fight Shakur Stevenson, this is what I was talking about. I don't know what Tank Davis is doing right now. From a legal standpoint, I really don't know what's going on. But from a boxing standpoint, he's been rumoring this Jake Paul fight. Pointless, ridiculous fight right there. He's been rumoring all these other opportunities and fights outside of what needs to happen. Lamont Roach needs to be number one on his list right now, or at least Shakur Stevenson. But from all reports, neither one of those seem to be happening right now. And that's why I will reiterate this once again. If you are Lamont Roach, stop playing this game with Gervonta Tank Davis. Go out there and book a fight with Shakur Stevenson. It's not worth your time anymore. Stop playing this game with him. If Tank Davis won't sign this contract and is going to keep you waiting, keep you stalled out, stop playing these games. Go out there and book a new fight. Dennis McCann has now been stripped of the European Super Bantamweight Championship, with the title now declared vacant due to McCann's inability to defend. Remember, McCann, he has PED issue. He's suspended. This should have happened a long time ago. It happens now. Great. But now what happens is that Peter McGrail has now been named the co-challenger for the vacant belt. McCann failed a drug test before a scheduled fight with McGrail last December. Rightfully done. McGrail deserves his shot. He's going to be fighting for the European belt once again. And in that situation, he earned that. No issue for that. I'm glad it happened. But with PEDs, I don't play around with that stuff. I'm glad this was punished. I'm glad he was stripped from his belt. And I'm glad that Peter McGrail has another shot to redeem himself once again. Edwin De Los Santos said that he wants to fight Lamont Roach Jr. if his fight with Gervonta Davis is not happening. All right. Not against that fight. At the same time, that's not a good business move for Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach, he would be my favorite to beat Edwin De Los Santos. However, if you're Lamont Roach, you don't want to risk it. You have yourself positioned right now for a massive fight. Whether that be Shakur Stevenson at 135, whether that be another big name there at 135, or even possibly trying to go fight a guy like O'Shaquie Foster or Stephen Fulton winner, something along those lines. You have yourself lined up perfectly. I would not risk that bag. Hats off to Edwin De Los Santos for wanting that fight, and it would be a very good fight. However, from a business standpoint, that makes no sense for Lamont Roach at this point in time. Finally, Austin Emma Williams, who was supposed to have a title eliminator in a big fight against Eloho, that fight is now off, as we talked about yesterday. They have already found a replacement, though. Austin Emma Williams will now fight Ivan Vasquez on Bam Rodriguez, Pumalele Kafu, the zone undercard. Obviously, it's not the fight anybody wanted to see. It's not as good of a fight as it was supposed to be. It was a perfect third fight to go watch on Saturday night. That's now off the books, but Emma Williams will still be on that card. He's always a fun fighter to watch. He will be going on right before the co-main event of Diego Pacheco, Trevor McCumbee. So it's still going to be a great fight, a good fight card overall, and I'm glad that they were able to go out, come together, and get the fight locked in for Austin Emma Williams on short notice. So massive props to as well. I don't have much familiarity with Ivan Vasquez. I will go and look into him more when I do my preview on tomorrow's show, but that is the news from that point. Hats off to him for deciding to step up on short notice. With that being said, though, I appreciate each every single one of you guys for tuning in to today's show. May God bless you guys all. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of you guys Thursday. And I will be back live tomorrow. The guest on tomorrow's show will be Bruce Carrington. I'll have SchuZ Show announced officially at the time. It will be 3:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of you guys Thursday. May God bless you guys all. And I'll see you guys back live tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. May God bless you guys all. SchuZ is out.